Hello, everyone. My name is Gina, and I have a challenge for America. This is my first public video, and I'm sure it won't win any Academy Awards, so please bear with me. I generally don't like drawing attention to myself or my family, but I feel the need to tell my story in hopes there may be at least one person who I can inspire to look at their life in a different way. In order for you to fully understand my challenge, I'll need to introduce you to my family and give you the condensed version of our story. Our story is rather extensive and would be way too long for a short video. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm the one in the mouse ears. The almost creepy looking man beside me is my husband, Jason. And the boy in front of us, who is clearly tired of having his picture taken, is our son James. On November 19th, 2004, I was diagnosed with a rare type of cancer in my sinuses. My nose had started bleeding a few months prior, and I really didn't think anything of it because it wasn't that bad, but it got worse. So I went to see an ENT. He told me I had superficial blood vessels that would rupture when my nose got dry. He cauterized the vessels and then packed my nose full of gauze. I thought that would be the end of it, but it wasn't. I went back to his office a couple more times and he did the same thing each time. I tried to tell him it was getting worse and he wouldn't listen to me. After he packed my nose again, I told him I was still bleeding and it was seeping through the gauze. He told me I was just being paranoid and sent me on my way. It was around this time that I met Jason. I was taking free dance classes at a local club, and he was there, and I didn't know what to think of him right away. He was a little strange, but there was something about him I liked, so I tried to find him after class, but he wasn't anywhere around. Now, the following week, I wasn't even sure I was going to go to class because my nose had been packed. But I decided at the last minute to bandage my nose, make it look like it was broken, so I wouldn't have to explain all the bleeding and everything to everybody all night long. Well, he ended up being there, and we have been together ever since. The bleeding got to where it wouldn't stop. It never stopped bleeding. It would come out the front of my nose until a large blood clot would form in my sinuses, blocking it from coming out that way, and then it would just go down the back of my throat. During work, I would have to go about every 2 hours to the bathroom to hack out the blood clot so I could breathe again. I tried hiding it at first, but by this point, it was impossible. My boss found out how bad it was, and she sent me to a new ENT that would see me on an emergency case. It took all of 10 minutes for him to tell me that I had a tumor half the size of my fist growing in my sinus cavity. It was the tumor that was bleeding, not my nose. I had lost so much blood at this point that I had to have a blood transfusion. I ended up in Gainesville at Shands, where they took it out by going through the top of my head, and then they followed it up by 6 weeks of radiation therapy twice a day. Even though we had only just met a few months prior, Jason was by my side the whole way. I decided I couldn't let a man like that get away, so I proposed to him. Just after my treatment was finished, Jason lost his father to a sudden return of cancer, and that's when we decided that we didn't need a formal wedding. So we grabbed 2 friends and a JP, and we said I do. We also knew he wanted to start to have a little family right away. Because if the cancer came back, we may have not gotten the chance to. So a month after we were married, we found out we were going to have James. It's been almost 12 years since then, and we are just like three nerds in an iPod. We like the same things and we think the same way. I know it's a rare thing nowadays, but we actually like being together, and we're rarely apart. But we do have our differences, though. I'm the creative one. I designed a handbag for our women to carry their tablet computers without anyone being able to tell they have one. Jason and James are more logical. Jason enjoys writing computer code in his head. James is on the math team at school, and they both enjoy challenging each other to do math problems in their heads. I can't compete with them there, because I at least have to have a piece of paper and a pencil. We do things together the average person probably wouldn't think of to do, like we have science-based birthday parties, giving science demonstrations on Halloween, doing science experiments in our front yard, and even performing small specimen dissections. Our home is only a little more than 700 square feet. It's old and it's a little run down, and we have stuff on top of more stuff. But it's our little cave, and we know how lucky we are to have it. Our kitchen is what I call a one-butt kitchen, meaning only one butt can fit in it at a time. But unless my butt gets larger, it works for us, and we're thankful we have it. Our fridge is a bit smaller than average, but there's food in it, and we know how fortunate we are. When we need more food, we go to the grocery store a few miles away. That's a luxury a lot of people don't have. The light fixtures aren't very pretty, but they work most of the time. And there are many people in this world who would love to be able to see what they're doing at night. The kitchen sink is broken, and it has been for quite some time. So when I actually get around to doing the dishes, I use the bathtub. Believe it or not, I don't have a problem with it. I feel lucky to even have that ability. We don't have a washer and dryer, so I take our laundry to the local laundromat. But don't feel too bad for me. Unless we are really strapped for cash, I usually just drop it off and then come pick it back up, all clean and folded. I'm sure this is a luxury some people would love to have. We don't have central heat and air. We use space heaters in the winter and AC window units in the summer, both of which work just fine for our little cave. It's more than some people have. Even though healthcare is costly and we may have to wait a couple hours to see the doctor, there's a doctor just a few miles down the road if we need to go. Being a cancer survivor, this is something that's very important to me, and it isn't available in a lot of places. We prefer to spend our money on things that we enjoy doing together, such as going to Disney, participating in Cub Scouts, visiting the Museum of Science and History, playing games, and generally just being us. Sure, we could try to keep up with the Joneses, but what's the point? I'm almost 100% sure when I'm lying on my deathbed, I will not say, gee, I really wish I'd have gotten that sink fixed. So here's the challenge. When you look at this picture, does it matter anymore that the kid behind the counter forgot to remove the tomato from your hamburger? Or how about this one? When you look at this picture, are you still pissed off because you had to stand in line and wait for 5 minutes to get your mocha cappuccino? Now think of some other things, like if you see someone on the side of the road walking in the rain, how difficult would it be for you to hand them an umbrella? If you see someone counting out change to put gas in their car and you have a spare $10, why wouldn't you help them instead of getting mad at them for holding up the line. And if you cause an accident because you just had to beat me to the red light one car ahead of me, what have you accomplished? The overall message here is if these people can find things in their lives to smile about, we think we can too. And the big question is, can you?